There's a story out of New Zealand. A gender-confused man there took home multiple gold medals in women's weightlifting at the 2019 Pacific Games in Samoa. This is Laurel Hubbard, formerly Gavin Hubbard, who won 2 gold medals and a silver. 3 heavyweight categories, this guy somehow managed to win them all. I wonder why. Because he's a man. Obviously, this is not the first time we've heard about this. Madeline Kearns, actually another National Review writer, was writing in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend and had a piece out on gender-confused men beating out female high school athletes at track meets. Very good piece. I recommend checking it out. So I think I tweeted this out, and then this weirdo named Jack Turbin, who's a freelance writer for the New York Times, and he's a child psychiatry resident from Harvard Medical School, tells you everything you need to know about Harvard Medical School, called Maddie's piece on transgender athletes bigoted. That's what the left is saying now. The left is now saying that if you don't let men beat women in sports, you're a bigot. And there's a real irony here in the whole gender ideology movement. Is you have a woman writing in the Wall Street Journal about how we should preserve women's sports, and then you have a man coming in and saying that it's bigoted to preserve women's sports, that men should be allowed to beat women. That's what it comes down to. And this is what the left does. The left goes and says that if you defend women's locker rooms, women's bathrooms, women's sports, any separate place for women to have on their own, all their own, to compete and do whatever they want, if you defend that, you're a bigot. And the right makes a mistake because we don't refer to the people who say that as misogynists, which is what they are. He sent out the tweet, bigoted writer in the Wall Street Journal defends women's sports. We should say misogynist writer in the New York Times opposes women's sports. I pointed out to this guy how stupid his opinion was, and he had no argument. So what he did is he accused me of being obsessed with women's sports. I can assure you, I have never watched a single women's sporting event from start to finish in my entire life. I don't watch a whole lot of sporting events anyway, and I certainly don't watch women's sporting events like the WNBA or something. Just not my cup of tea. I don't know. Everybody has their thing. That's not mine. But this is what the culture warrior left always does. They always gaslight us on this. They radically redefine some very basic aspect of our culture. They radically redefine sports. They radically redefine gender. They radically redefine bathrooms. They radically redefine marriage. And then some of us object to that. We say, yeah, maybe we shouldn't just completely redefine sex. And they say, you're obsessed. You're totally obsessing over it. No, we're not obsessing over anything. The left is the aggressor in the culture wars. We're the ones saying, maybe your ideas are a little crazy and weird. Maybe we shouldn't buy into them. And they say you're obsessing. When they say that, that's how you know that you're getting under their skin. Because the way that the left proceeds to dominate the culture is slowly and steadily, and they almost pretend that they're not doing it. I mean, now we are told, if you believe in the definition of marriage that President Barack Obama held as late as 2012, you're a bigot. That was 7 years ago. That was very recently. Now we're told if you believe that a man is not a woman, you are a bigot. You are not welcome into polite society. This was an opinion that was held by everybody from the beginning of time until like 5 seconds ago. And now if you tweet out men are not women, you can be banned from Twitter. Twitter has said that. They can permanently suspend you for it. That's how fast they move. And if you come out and you say, gosh, maybe we should think about this, guys. Maybe every civilization for all of human history everywhere was onto something when they said that men and women are different. Maybe every origin story of our species, which begins with the sexual difference between men and women, maybe they weren't just completely crazy. They say, you're obsessed. Give it up. Stop it. It's not a big deal. That's what they say. It's not a big deal. Well, if it's not a big deal, let women have their own sports. If it's not, you're right. I don't think it's a big deal to let women have their own sports. You, on the left, you're the ones making this a big deal. So fine, let them have their own sports. Let them have their own locker rooms. Let them have their own bathrooms. Back off. Women exist. Get over it, weirdos. But they won't do that. They can't back off because this is part of the aggression of the culture wars. This is part of the, I mean, it's an irony because of all people, I'm the one now defending women's sports, but I guess politics makes strange bedfellows. And you are going to see within the next few years, women's sports will not be permitted to exist. This will make it all the way up to the Olympics. You're already seeing that happen now. And the question is, when will feminists, when will women generally, when will the fairer sex rise up and say, no, stop it, you weirdo men who write in the New York Times and tell us that we're not allowed to have our own sports? Stop it. You don't get to do that.